Hello there, everybody. Welcome to episode, I think it's 12 of the URC Unloaded. As always, I'm joined by Tom Shanklin, straight off the golf course today. Tom, how did you get on?
Win, mate. I'm going through a real good purple patch at the moment, but I have to say I did beat a couple of old timers in Jiffy and Sean Holly, so it's not much of a win, basically. So I'll enjoy
a win's
it.
A win. And of course, John Barclay. Barks, since you've last been on, you've now got an ambassadorial role for AXA Health, Novus Coast, Komodo Joe Barbecues, Mama B Bagels, and last but not least, Step One Boxer Shorts. You are not you're not a pundit anymore. You are an influencer. You're an influencer.
Stevie, don't make me read out the message you sent me this week about one of those. don't you make me very easily.
You forgot Jamico as well.
Oh no, it's all good fun. We're here, lads. We'll get stuck into it. We're delighted to have Ulster Rugby's head coach Dan McFarland with us tonight. It's great to have him on board. First of all, Dan, thanks very much for joining us. How are you? How are you after the win at the weekend?
No problems. Thanks for having me, guys. All good. Moving on, gearing up. We got a pretty big one this weekend, so got to refocus.
Yeah, we'll touch on that game in a minute, but just from an Ulster point of view against Cardiff, probably one of the criticisms, although there hasn't been many this season with Ulster, is that you haven't been ruthless enough when you've been in really good positions during games. But I think against Cardiff, Dan, that was something that was really pleasing, probably from you, is how ruthless the boys were in the end.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair call. Like we've had some good wins, but potentially haven't put teams away when we could have done. I think the pleasing thing about the game against Cardiff was the variety of the tries that we scored. Our maul tends to do a good job of scoring tries, but we also score from phase, from counter attack, from set piece play. We had a nice defensive try in there as well. So, it was very pleasing.
Dan, you get like 10-0 up in the game, and then Cardiff get on the front foot. Like Josh Turnbull makes a break, and then Hume just intercepts the ball and runs the length of the field. How important is that, to have a player like that can read the game so well? Because that essentially, 15 points against Ulster in Ulster is a tough ask to come back and win.
Yeah, well, look, we had there were a couple of key moments in the start of that game. One was the bounce of the ball from a great kick from Billy. But it bounced straight to Rob, and he had to finish, but it bounces another direction. Potentially we don't get a try straight away and we have to earn it. But there were two lovely bits of play that put us up there. And then we didn't defend very well to allow them through the middle of us. But James has been making those reads all season, and I like the fact that you point out that that's a great bit of play, because often people characterize intercepts as being lucky. But I can 100% tell you that is not. That piece of play was showed by Jared in the meeting on Monday to demonstrate work rate to get back into position, where he's looking up as he's in the defensive line, how he holds his feet and then goes on the pass, and is able to make a great defensive play that pulls us out of what was potentially a bit of trouble.
Dan, Dangerous Dan, as I used to call you. Any good nicknames since you've been at Ulster?
You never call me that. You call me boss. I distinctly remember.
The boss man. Okay,
or sir.
Sir.
Quite often sir.
Yeah. You're very stern since you've become a head coach. How are you enjoying I only knew you as an assistant, Dan. What's the transition been like for you to head? Obviously, that was your aspiration. And just a second question towards that is, as a head coach, you still have time to do. You put so much into your presentations. The other guys haven't seen them. The animation, the enthusiasm. Do you still get to do as much of that as a head coach? Or are you more hands off with that side of the game?
I think. Well, first question on the assistant to head coach. I really enjoyed being a head coach, being an assistant coach. Like I really enjoyed that. John, the detailed aspect of forward play and what we used to do as a group just excited me, and there's a different kind of responsibility with assistant coach where you're down in the weeds with the real nitty gritty of what goes on the pitch. like and then you can afford the time to be very particular about how you present and what you do. As a head coach, it's totally different. You have a much broader responsibility that covers so many more things. But that in and of itself is also really exciting and really enjoyable. Do I have the particulars to do the same kind of things that I would do in presentation? Well, I spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. I don't do the same kind of detail work that you would do if you were presenting on how to defend mauls against Toulouse or something like that. But there's a different level of detail. There's a different amount of detail, and the way that you get your message across and what you've got to sell is bigger picture. But there's certainly an equal amount of thinking that has to go into doing it, because you've got to know your audience and you've got to understand how to get the message across.
Sure.
Dan, just a follow-up question on that, off the back of John's. You're loving your job at the minute, being a head coach of Ulster Rugby. Obviously, there's a ladder in the coaching career. Would you like at some stage step up and be a head coach of an international team?
Yeah,
is that the end goal?
Well, I don't know whether it's an end goal. I think I had a brilliant piece of advice when I was assistant coach at Connacht, and I applied for the head coach's job there when Eric finished and Pat got the job, and I was gutted. I interviewed for that job. I was absolutely gutted when I didn't get that job. I felt that it should have been my job, and that I'd done my time. And I remember I was initially very grumpy, and Ryan Constable, who was my agent at the time, he said, "Look, Dan, just you got to be very careful that you're not tripping over yourself to become a head coach, because one, you've got to be ready, and two, the opportunity has got to be right. It's got to be the right time to do it." And never was there a truer piece of advice, because Pat had been in for a month, and I was thanking my lucky stars I didn't get that job, because I learned more about how life could be different as a head coach in those 4 weeks than I'd done in the previous, whatever it was, 10, 15 years of being involved in professional rugby. So I'm not tripping over myself to do a head coach at international level. Am I allowed to want to be a head coach at some point at international level and to enjoy what I'm doing now? Of course I am. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. One thing I do know is at some stage I would love to be involved in international rugby again, because we know the story of I was in Scotland with Scotland for a year, and then got the opportunity to come and do this, and genuinely that was a really difficult thing to do, because I was loving that. Like I was never involved at international rugby as a player, deservedly so, because I wasn't good enough, and I always wanted to play at international level and to represent my country, but never got the chance. And then when I hooked up with Scotland, was involved in the summer tour, going down to Singapore, playing Italy, beating Australia, going to Fiji. That was a fantastic trip. And the New Zealand tests, against in November, that night that Doddy and his family took the ball out onto the pitch. It was an evening game, and it's like the atmosphere is unbelievable. Like Six Nations time being involved. Like you guys have been involved in that. It is incredible. Would I like to experience that again? Definitely. Yeah, definitely at some stage. Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to do it with Scotland first. Sorry, John. Dan, how pleasing is it to have some of these young players that you've had for a while and watch them grow, like Lowry, like Balakoon, like Stuart Moore? I mean, Stuart Moore, for instance, played 15 at the weekend and was excellent. How pleased are you with their development as players?
look, there's a lot of young talented players there. There's a lot of competition for places in the squad at the moment, and that's down to the work they do off the pitch. There is no right to get a game just because you're coming through and you're young. You have to earn it, and that's the only way that the system works. When guys come through the academy, they have to prove themselves. When they get into the senior squad, they have to prove themselves. They have to prove that they're able to play in a URC game. And when they've done that, when they've put all those things in place, guys like the guys you mentioned, and guys like Ethan McElroy as well, and Callum Reid played at the weekend, and Dave McCann. Tom Stewart came off the bench and was absolutely fantastic. He's going to be some player. Cormac Izuchukwu has been back on the pitch against the Dragons, and he's going to play a big part in Ulster over the coming years. And being able to develop those guys alongside a side that is successful is a real, it's a real balance. If you want to consistently compete for championships, you've got to be winning games. Okay, if you want to do it consistently over a long period of time, you've got to be bringing through young people, and how you do that, and how we've done that over the last 3.5 years, I think is a testament to the guys work in the academy, the coaches' work, and the young fellas themselves.
Mentioned Stuart Moore, he played at 15. Is this something that you're looking to develop him into, in case you lose Mike Lowry more to Ireland? Because I think it was a couple of years ago we saw him playing in the centre quite a bit and was really impressive, but I thought he was equally as good at 15 and made a lovely break for the Balakoon tribe. Yeah,
he's got a lovely outside break, and he's naturally suited to play one in from the edge because his skill set is such that he's a really good draw and pass. Like his big left boot is going to be helpful at 15 as well. I was reluctant to label Michael Lowry 10 or 15, and always have been. Why? Because you don't know how guys are going to evolve. He's now an international 15. I'd be reluctant to say, well, Stuart Moore's just a centre. We don't know. Let's see how he develops. The situation was that we actually had 6 fullbacks unavailable for that game. So Stu ended up training and playing there over the last while, and we were pretty confident, particularly Jared and Dan Soper, in the way that he would be able to adapt. Now he got things wrong, like some of his positioning in the backfield wasn't great because he was a little bit too deep on a couple of occasions, and the skill set is slightly different, obviously, for a fullback. But Stu's a good footballer. And over time, if he got more opportunities there, I'm sure he'd develop well. Like versatility, I listened to you talking to Friendy. I think was it last week that you were talking to Friendy. Friendy was talking about versatility as being a virtue. 100%, it's a virtue. When you're building squads as a general manager and coaches in professional rugby now, versatility is a virtue, especially with the amount of injuries that guys get now.
You just admitted you're a fan of the show, Dan, and you listen to it. I like that.
I'm a big fan. I think I've seen all 4 episodes so far.
We're just jumping on the back of what Shanks was talking about, the young players. Obviously, with the young players coming through, the next succession is international honours, which you're seeing already with some of the guys. That's obviously a blessing and a curse from an Ulster point of view. You want to go on and play international rugby, of course, but it leaves you a bit thin on the ground in certain positions. We've seen you bring in some big signings. I'm not expecting you to tell us who's coming in next, but in terms of the recruitment plan and shape for Ulster, what does that look like?
Well, I think the policy is always that we want our guys being successful and becoming international players. That's the way it works. It's you've seen the success of other clubs. The more that they play at international level, I believe the more exposure they get at that level, the better players they become over time. There is obviously the plus and the minus of the fact that they go away, but I'll take the minus side every time. You know, if guys are away representing their country, that's absolutely brilliant for the club. And in terms of the recruitment side of things, you're always looking at the positions that you need to bolster. And it might be certain aspects of the game. It might not just be positions. It might be aspects of the game that you want to bolster. You know, but that's always a case of looking at what you've got. Who are the guys that you've got coming through? What are the positions that you're pretty strong and deep in? And what are the positions where you can get a little bit extra from somebody coming in? And you know, like Dwayne would be a classic example. Marcel would be a classic example where, you know, we've felt, and Ulster have felt over the last number of years that ever since a fella called Stevie Ferris retired, the big nasty ball carrying back rower, you know, wasn't there. And Marcel and Dwayne certainly fulfill that, and you know, Dwayne fulfills a number of other areas in the squad as well.
Dan, you're going to need some of those ball carriers to step up this weekend. 7:35 p.m. kickoff against Leinster at home after all the international games. It's going to be a sold-out Kingspan as always. What's the huge challenges getting into this week for you as a coach? Or is it something that, you know, the players will just rise to the occasion because it's such a big game? There's so much on the line, isn't there?
I think that there's a little bit of interest in the fact that there are distractions. You know, at Kingspan, Ravenhill, the game's going to be on beforehand on the big screens. You know, there'll probably be quite a few supporters in there watching that. Maybe a few pints beforehand. Hopefully, they're nice and noisy during the game. Are there distractions around international weekends? There are, but that is definitely counterbalanced by the nature of this fixture. It's us against the league leaders. It's us against the perennial winners of our league. It's us against the benchmark that have proved themselves superior to everybody else in our league over a number of years. And you know, they're obviously going to be wanting revenge. You know, we beat them down there for the first time since 2013, earlier in the season. You know, I obviously keep a very close tab on how they're going and what they're doing. And you know, they're playing some great rugby. They scored some great tries at the weekend against Treviso. Their attacking threat is enormous. Their defence is extremely difficult to break down. So you know, we've got a strategic battle as well as a physical battle at the weekend.
Awesome.
I know you're a big NFL fan. You spoke about it a lot when we were together with Scotland. Managed to use any of that in your coaching as a head coach? Implement any of that?
Yeah. Oh, geez, I'm you know, I'd be a Packers fan. You know, it's they didn't finish off the season that well. You know, I've watched Hard Knocks every year since it's been on. All or Nothing's a big favourite of mine. Like, I visited a number of NFL franchises. Yeah, I love it. I love the detail. I love that aspect of it. You know, we actually take some language from NFL in terms of, particularly in terms of maul defense, where we use similar language and similar concepts. You know, the squad building side of things. You know, I'm fascinated with that. I've had an opportunity to speak to general managers in the NFL and talk to them about how they put together their squads with the value of players and things like that. I think there's so much to be learned. I also think that they could learn a lot from us, because I think the way that they operate as support staff over there is to me is a little bit archaic. And you know, some of the coaching methodology is also a little bit archaic. And I think we would be way ahead. From my limited knowledge of the way that it works, but there's definitely stuff that you can learn from that, and it's just a brilliant sport. There's so much you can. I watched a 341-pound defensive lineman run. I think it was a 4.7 40-yard dash the other day. That's 155 kilos. 155 kilos. And did you see him doing his lateral test? where he's doing the lateral footwork and then the backwards and the foot. It was ridiculous.
There's no knee lift there, is there? There's no knee lift. It's just like that.
But he's
Get
so
him
fast.
signed up, Dan. Get him signed up, Dan.
He's 20 kilograms heavier than Gareth Milicinovic. Gareth is a big man.
Is it Oklahoma Joe? Is that the famous one they do? The attitude.
Yeah, well, that's the smash into each other. We wouldn't be allowed to do that, John. There'd be all sorts of complaints. Few of them would love it.
Yeah, I would.
You'd have absolutely hated it.
I would have hated it. I would have done it. I would have said I had a bad neck or something, or bad wrist.
Can we do some of the post lineups?
Ryan Wilson.
We should do lineups now or something. Yeah.
Dan, we hear you're also a bit of a movie buff. Would that be correct?
Not really, no. But
our producer, that's it. He's gone. He's getting chopped for next week. But
have you watched any movies ever?
Yeah.
You don't have a TV, mate. I've never seen any.
Yeah. Go on then. This is going to come.
No, we have a bit of a quick fire round just at the end of the interview with the head coaches that you've probably seen. It's lighthearted anyway, so we'll fire away. The first question: Belfast or Galway?
It's got to be Belfast, doesn't it?
Okay, playing or coaching?
Yeah, coaching. I was a terrible player.
Winning well or winning ugly?
Winning well.
Books or movies?
Books.
Dwayne Vermeulen, God of Thunder, or Thor, God of Thunder?
He's got to be Dwayne. Yeah.
And you're not into your movies, but is Die Hard? Is it a Christmas film or not?
Yeah, I loved Die. I watched Die Hard this Christmas. I watched it. I actually made the family watch that, and they said it was rubbish. I thought it was. I can't swear, can I? Go on.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Witness Ireland win a World Cup or Packers win a Super Bowl?
Oh, it's got to be Ireland win a World Cup. Definitely. That'd be awesome.
No, never going to happen.
That would be
That's why you can say it, because it's never going to happen.
Munster or Leinster, Dan?
That's impossible to choose.
Good answer.
Impossible to choose. And tell me this, there's a strong rumour floating around that Bernard Jackman, when he was at Connacht, used to call the lineouts, so that he'd never had to throw to the tail. Is that correct?
No, but I can tell you that in a Heineken Cup, in a Challenge Cup semi-final over Harlequins, when we needed 5 points to win the game, we had a really good driving maul. We called a maul to go to the corner, and on the way to the line out, Birch spoke to Damien Brown and changed the call from a maul to a banana, okay, or boomerang, and the boomerang was throw to Brownie, and Brownie throw the ball back to Birch so that Birch could score, okay. Okay, so nobody else knew this, okay. They obviously messed it up, and we lost the game. So I'm going to blame that totally on Bernard Jackman. Okay.
Andy Friend last week chose a beer with Bernard Jackman over Hugh Jackman. Like you're talking a beer with Wolverine or a beer with Birch. Like, there's no context.
Yeah, but Birch is actually pretty amusing though, isn't he? So like I've listened to a podcast with Hugh Jackman on. I'm going to go for Birch as well. Actually, he's good value.
That's too
very good. Last question, Dan. John Cooney or Nathan Doak? I'm only joking.
No, there's another one here. There's another one here. Darren Cave or Stephen Ferris? Surely Cavey's a better bloke.
And on that note, Dan, we'll let you go on. But thanks ever so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to you later on in the season when Ulster are in the final of the URC. So best luck for the rest of the season. Best luck for the weekend. Thanks very much, Dan.
Thanks, guys, and all the best to you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
We're going to need it.
What was he like coaching, JB? Was he pretty intense or
just like that? Like you
Seems like
see
there's
like,
a crack too.
how excited he is. That's what he was like, full of energy, full of detail. What genuine? Not he's probably listening. He's one of the best coaches I work with. His eye for detail and he just never stopped. Like you'd wake up in the morning, he'd send you messages at all sorts of time. He just never stopped. He just loves rugby. You can tell that with his enthusiasm for what he's talking about. He's good, really good guy, good man.
Yeah, well, one thing we didn't touch on with him was the defence coach situation at Ulster. Obviously, their defence has been so good. Like, and Jared Payne's moving on. Didn't get a chance to ask him. Is there anybody in particular that you'd like to see in there, Shanks? I hear Johnny Bell, the former Ulster players, in the mix. A couple other lads as well throwing their name into the hat.
Don't care, mate. Don't care. Who would you like to see in? Sean Edwards. No,
we'll go for Sean Edwards. Yeah. What did you think of the Ulster Cardiff performance? From a Cardiff perspective, come on.
I tell you what, mate. First kickoff, drop the ball like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
here we go.
Come on, like it's an easy kickoff. Like start the game well, and then a little bit of luck with the bounce. It was a really good kick, but that bounce goes straight into Balakoon's hands. And mate, how fast he is, rapid. Like you don't actually get until he's in open space. You don't actually get a glimpse of how fast he is. That's a good kick because that splits the wing run of 15, and it bounces, and the ball can bounce anywhere. And lo and behold, it bounces into Balakoon's hands, and that's class finishing. That's pace. Yeah. That's knowing your way. This is another good one as well. Stuart Moore there just does Summerhill way too easily.
He was class though.
Look at that.
That's wheels, mate. I thought the game was lost when they had that. When you mentioned it, I can't remember this before the show when Josh Turnbull went through, and then they threw the intercept, and Hume takes the intercept, and like you're 17-0 there, 14-point turnaround. Game's done and dusted at that point. And that was 20 odd minutes into the game.
Do you know what I like about Balakoon as well? He wears his shorts like someone in rugby league in the 90s. Jiffy. Yeah. Martin Fire, Jiffy, some Sean Edwards, people like that.
Yeah, it looks like his legs attached to his armpits.
Yeah, I know. But Timony was immense, wasn't he, as well? He was brilliant.
Yeah.
They were just...
I
felt sorry for Cardiff, in a way.
What's the story with Ellis Jenkins?
Yeah.
Shank. Obviously, he started against Wales, and everybody was like, oh, he's back again. Then at the weekend, he was standing at pillar or 10 or post, whatever you call it these days, and Stuart McCluskey just literally threw the worst dummy ever and scored a try. Is he lacking a bit of confidence game time?
Don't think so. He's played enough games. He had a good autumn campaign. People are saying, he could be the next captain of Wales. And now he's in South Africa, and Josh Navidi straight in. So
yeah. I
just think there's so many good back row in Wales at the moment coming through and coming back from injury that it's such a tough position, and it sort of suits, that they pick really on the game in hand and what suits. France would suit someone like Josh Navidi, and they've gone with Seb Davis in the back row, probably for more line out and a bit of bulk really. But I feel sorry for him because he's a good player, he's a good leader, but it takes like one quiet game and then you're out and someone's in because it's that strong.
Yeah. I thought Cardiff were really disappointing, especially the centre partnership, Ray Lilo, Halaholo.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't click, did it? From the first
What's hard, Stevie, is that 5 weeks ago they beat Leinster at home, and it's just been a season of momentum stopping for a lot of teams, Cardiff being one of them. I know a lot of teams have had breaks, but they beat Leinster. They got 5 weeks then to a game again, and it just means any of the good work, any of the momentum they get is so hard. So I feel a bit sorry for him, but they were schooled in how to finish tries, how to take opportunities, how to manipulate defenders, and they were second best in every facet of the game. So, deserved to lose 48-12, really.
They weren't the only side that were second best this week by a long way. You know what I mean?
There's a few teams, lads. There was some unbelievable scoring, like some crazy tries. Edinburgh 56-8 over Connacht. Like, that was mental.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. And I was there commentating. The first 20 minutes, like Connacht were good, held the ball well, didn't score, didn't convert anything into points, and then it was 8-0, and then Edinburgh scored 56 points in like 50 minutes. Connacht were so crap. Like defensively, schoolboy defense, defending the man. Like it was just errors all over the place. And Edinburgh played really well. Like Blair Kinghorn was brilliant. Back row was quality. The two Argy boys in the wings were superb. Immelman's been a great signing. So they did play well, Edinburgh. Like, don't get me wrong, they came out and they found their shape. I do think Blair Kinghorn has got all the attributes to be, once he gets his game management a little bit better, like as a physical specimen and his distribution's quality. But yeah, Connacht were
John,
so poor.
Kinghorn, right? He's just doing simple things like you saw a clip there showing the ball on the inside before he passed it on the outside. Just little things like that, which hold defenders, which create space. He's picking the right passes as well, like Muncaster through the gap there.
He's got a lot of error in his game still, I would say, for like a international. But you see the good outweighs the bad for me, like because he's 6'5". I think he's the quickest guy in Scotland, like over 40. He's one of the most powerful. He didn't look it, but one of the most powerful guys. His athleticism like lends itself to like getting through contact, offloading. His height, you see, he's giving all basketball passes over the top. So he's playing confident. He's playing really well, and they're obviously sticking with him at 10. So. And he seems to be growing in that role a bit. But yeah, Edinburgh really good. Spoke to Michael after the game. He was delighted. They're unbeaten at home this year, and they needed to win after 3 losses in a row.
Stevie, what about Connacht? Why is their defence so bad?
Yeah, like the Dragons smashed them at home early on in the season, put 35 points on them, and they've just been really inconsistent. Like some weeks you think, geez, they're back, they're going to make the race for the top 8. Then last week happens and they're just all at sea. It almost looked like some players just gave up when they, Edinburgh got their noses in front. It really did. And that's not the right mentality to have whatsoever. I think Tom Daly in the centre's struggling. He looks like he's lost a bit of pace.
Ball watching.
Against Stade Francais as well, maybe in the European Cup. Might be wrong on that, but yeah, he just looks a bit off it. The second row is still a huge problem. Like for Connacht, I know they're missing a lot of front row players across the board, especially in the pack. But when you don't have Alton Delan, who we know is moving away, Niall Murray, and Gavin Thornbury, who hasn't been about most of the season due to injury, you're going to struggle a bit. And yeah, they just it was very uncharacteristic of Connacht to get absolutely hammered, and once they let in a couple of tries, a few more followed, and if anything, Connacht usually fight back a bit more, and there was no fight whatsoever. So really disappointing. But on a more positive note, Shanks, you must be delighted with the way Scarlets handled the Glaswegians when they come down to the Parky Scarlets.
Yeah, it was. Didn't see that big result coming, and it's exactly what they need. Like Glasgow started really well, and they get points on the board early doors. What do you guys make of this block? Because, this is a bit of a momentum changer in the game. This is a key part of the game that the try is allowed because Ryan Wilson, he doesn't really change his line. He just moves his hands in the air like, I'm moving out the way. I thought it was really soft. And
yeah, I know you're going to say it's biased. I actually think the guy who makes it, Smith, he's been tearing up at fullback, and Callum Mahoney overtracks there.
Yeah, I
think that's a ridiculously harsh no try.
That's what you do when you're trying to get out of the way. Your hands come up like that. Now, Callum Mahoney there's just run into his hand, and that is it. Is it not Callum Mahoney? It might be someone else. Might be. But
Ryan Wilson doesn't change his angle of running at all.
Can't make himself invisible. I thought that was a terrible decision.
That had a massive effect on the game as well.
Glasgow started well, didn't they? They scored easy more, and you're thinking Scarlets were all over the shop, and then almost like
before half time.
Yeah, I mean that's soft. Gareth Davis was very good actually in the game, sent back from Wales. Scott Williams played really well.
Big players stood up for the Scarlets, and that's something that.
And the big players probably didn't stand up for Glasgow.
No, and watch Dan Davis here. So good, like just be able to bounce out of one channel, gets Josh Mackay, and then really good interlinking play. And this is where you see the Scarlets at their best. When they're playing in the wider channels, they're not as good picking and go, and they're not as good hitting tight lines. But when they keep their width, they're really good. And Gareth Davis causing loads of trouble. Ryan Combier looked super strong and fast, finishes a try himself. That one goes back inside of Callum Mahoney, who won man of the match. But a couple of players that really make him tick, I think. Reece Patchell, who's back. He's getting better and better every game. He's been out for a long time. The attack just looks better. He holds more defenders. His passing's really slick. The way he bosses people around, he's vocal. He runs the whole game for him, which you'd expect your 10. And Scott Williams as well, inside him. Or outside him, I should say. You've got two. What are you laughing at? Why are you laughing, Stevie? Why are you laughing? But you got Scott Williams then as well, who a lot of creation comes off him, as most 12s do, and his variety is so good of pass, kick, run, and those two really launch. All the attack comes from those two. So it's one of those games that really clicked for Scarlets, and then Glasgow their heads went down. I think it was Steyn just dropped the ball, didn't he? He was passed inside, dropped the ball, sort of gave up.
John, do Glasgow have a bit of a soft underbelly?
They've had one bad result like that this year, and it's completely slipped my mind who it was against, where they just against Exeter away in Europe, and they conceded 40 points in the last 30 minutes, and it was kind of similar here. They just lost their way a bit. I think they're missing. It's too easy to say that they're missing a lot of players, because so are Scarlets, really. If you look at the Scarlets pattern, it's kind of like for like. So I wouldn't say so. I do think these games sometimes happen. I think Jack Dempsey went off as a big loss for them as a player and someone who just gets them into the game by his actions. But I know Danny Wilson pretty well. He'll be really pissed off. That's quite uncharacteristic, I'd say. And the fact that you're asking this question would point to the fact that maybe other people are thinking this, and he's tried to get away from that as best he can. Because last year this was very characteristic of them, like one good result, one bad result.
Yeah. Now I reckon weather played a massive factor in this weekend, because we saw loads of tries. Be it teams got hammered. It was good conditions to play in, and that was sort of evident. Munster Dragons, Steve, like 64-3. I mean, positives for Dragons. They weren't nilled, and Jordan Williams is back. Jordan Williams is back. But I mean, how clinical were Munster, Stevie?
Yeah, they were very good. Like attacking from deep. Usually Munster, gets in edge there, box kick it. But Chris Farrell, who's lost his way in the international pecking order, played very well. I think he had man of the match. But Jack O'Donoghue running in this try, he has been so good. He's 28 years of age, only a couple of caps to his name. Like, surely he's banging this international door, because he's been so consistent of late, and he's been one of Munster's best players the whole way throughout the international window.
Yeah,
and he's not going to get in this Six Nations, but I think he's somebody to look out for, and hopefully gets a bit of game time on the summer tour. But Munster in general, it was good to see them playing with a bit of width. You can just see this try. Like, Dragons have twitched off, given up. They can't wait to get out of there, get back on the bus, and get on their way home. But yeah, Munster were good. I don't think they were unbelievable the way the scoreline maybe suggests. But I think some of the tries were really good. Maybe a couple of contenders for try of the season in the URC. You see a little wraparound play.
You've been saying, I think there's been a lot of questions of Munster around about their style of play, and I think we played a lot flatter to the game line. And you see, I think this is what people want to see, a bit more ambition in how they're trying to throw the ball around. And it's easy, it's easy because Dragons were so bad. You say Connacht's defense was bad. Dragons' defense was just an absolute shambles by the end of that game. The white towel was thrown in. That try where Zivo scores in the corner, that's the worst try of the lot. That speaks to us just giving up.
Even basic errors like Will Talbot Davis not putting down Farrell for one of the tries, a Donoghue try. Then he got an Iron Owen, just gets himself in a whole world of pickle. And Cloutey scores for the bonus point try in 36 minutes, and he's facing the wrong way. He's turned in, so when the ball's passed, he has to do a full circle to turn back. And it's just simple things like that. But you hear rumours, don't you? And I don't think it's a very happy camp at the moment with the Dragons. And you're going to get that because they've only got one win. It was a good win against Connacht a while ago, but you can't beat Benetton at home. They can't buy a win, and all of a sudden, then you start to look at why and what's going on, and friction happens. And I'm not sure. You don't hear many positive things coming out of the camp at the moment.
Well, Shanks, you talked about some of the things that they didn't do well, and a lot of those seem to be more of coaching, coaching the players not to turn in, coaching the players to be in the right position. And I know there's got to be individual player responsibility taken, but like Dean Ryan, is he the right man to continue on with this Dragons outfit going forward? He's been there a couple of years. It's an unhappy camp, and players like Tavis Knoll have they've disappeared. There seems to be unrest throughout the camp all the time. And I know it's easy when you're winning every single week, but Dean Ryan, he just doesn't seem to be getting the best out of the players at the minute.
I don't know, mate. He might be coming on next week, so but no, he's not, and that's clear to see with results. So, I don't know what the answer is, really. They've re-signed. Well, they're not re-signed. They've signed some good players for next season. They are trying to add to their squad, but when confidence is that low, it's really difficult to get yourself back on winning track, because losing becomes a habit. And, all of a sudden these players are going into games with no confidence. Players like Jordan Williams will make a big difference, because, he's probably their only real line breaker in the backs. He's someone that features heavily because he's a 15. But apart from that, they don't really have any genuine players that can break the line. I think they massively struggle in the centre. I think, they've bolstered their pack, but they need some sort of cutting edge behind. And, you can't always be wingers that have the cutting edge, because wingers often don't get the ball, do they? And in certain situations, unless the ball comes to them. Look at Lewis Rees-Zammit, axed by Wales because, the ball really wasn't coming to him. And, you can search for it, but you get the best out of players like that when they get a bit of time and space with ball in hand. So I really think they could do with some world-class centres, but players like me are real difficult to come by, lads.
Yeah, who's going to go there? And I'm not trying to sound old. No one's going to. You'd watch that world-class players. They're going to struggle to try them. And I just think,
yeah, that is true.
You look at the way they're playing, their form, and I think you used to know Dragons were always going to have a fight about them. And I don't think they've got that in their DNA anymore. Their DNA used to be about this team that was horrible and gritty, and you didn't used to enjoy playing there and against them, home or away. But there's too many heavy-side defeats now to suggest that that's still part of their DNA.
I totally agree with you. And it is difficult, isn't it? Because you want to attract the best players, but the best players want to come. And when money's quite similar, which it would be, like at the Dragons to say Ulster or an Irish province, or even Glasgow and Edinburgh, you're going to go where you're more likely to win trophies, aren't you? And at the moment,
is Percy Montgomery still playing? Is he? Is Percy Montgomery available?
Gary Teichmann was there for a bit as well.
Lads, I can remember first coming on the scene, 2005, 2006. Dragons were a really tough team to beat.
Colin Jarvis, all these guys, they were horrible. Kerry Sweeney, they were just miserable to play against. Nasty. Jimmy Bringer was playing. I remember my first game against Jimmy Bringer playing. I was like, why have I got to play against this guy? Covered in tats. I was 18, just out of school, and this guy is just stamping all over me and grabbing. I was like, and then we lost. Of course we did.
Shanks, we'll stick on you, Shanks, just with talking about the Ospreys. Got off to a good start. Everything was looking rosy at half time. A healthy enough lead, and then Zebre come back into it, and a little too close for comfort. Yeah,
I think that's one of the games that the good teams just put away easily. And it did. I mean, this was good play. This was really well worked. Just line out drive, and they used Kieran Williams really well. He's probably one of the best at hitting those short lines. Dynamic, quite compact, difficult to get down. Gets over the gain line, and Morgan Morris hits a really nice line. It's a really good celebration between. I think it's Brock James gets a pat on the back from Toby Booth. Something that he's probably looked at and seen and thought, there it is. Look, they're all tapping him about, well done, mate.
Go on, son.
That's all. That's on you, mate. That's yours. They were. This is brilliant. Tuiviaka, watch him here now. The try line's there, but he's just the fridge comes on the back. Michael Collins gets himself in a hell of a position to tackle, gets his head in the wrong place. Has that ever happened to you boys? Have you ever sort of open space or intercept? And
no. I don't know if you watched me for the Lions in 2009, like when I caught the ball. And, mate, there was no letting up. I was getting faster, mate.
It's when they chase you and you've got to start zigzagging, which is the worst.
That was me, yeah.
And you know you're going to make it, but they just go on.
Yeah. No, it's all right. Yeah, that was funny. Ospreys squeaking home. I still don't think. I'm not sure that the Ospreys are good enough to make a top 8 this season, lads. I think there's still a bit of a work in progress. Zebra,
a couple of big wins they've had. A couple of big wins Ospreys have had. Yeah, and they might
turn it on against Ulster. Like they played pretty well against Ulster.
And beaten, but it wasn't convincing, was it? But the win. I tell you what was a bit bizarre was Zebra have a penalty on 75 minutes and go for posts, and then to make it 27-22, which I just think, you go for the try first. You go for the try and then you try and maybe win a penalty to win the game. But I just found it a bizarre decision. But,
and last point in this game, Shanks, sorry to cut across you.
No worries. My wife does it.
It was a bye week once again in the Six Nations, but yet no Gareth Anscombe being released to the club. What is he like? Yet again, Myler starts the game. Any information on what the story is there? Just keep.
That'll be from Wales. That'll be from Wales. Why he's not released. He came on against England, so maybe there's a knock to Dan Bigger. Maybe that he may feature. Well, is he on the bench? Yeah, he's on the bench. I think for this weekend. So it's good for him in a way because he's going to be involved in Wales. He's versatile, but still needs game time. So. I would have probably rolled the dice and let him play against Zebra, because if there's a game that you wanted to play against, it'd be Zebra. That was not too much pressure. It wouldn't be too difficult. You get a chance to shine, but they kept him in. So again, here's one for you boys. His dad, I met his dad at the weekend. His dad was I'll talk through this. It's fine. No one wants to see this. His dad picked me up in a taxi. 20 minutes later. I didn't know who it was. I said, "Nice to see you on time, mate." And he went, "Well, I'm here now." And then I was really arsey with him. Then found out that it was Gareth Anscombe's dad, Mark. So I felt really bad.
Former head coach of Ulster.
Yeah.
He picked you up in the taxi.
Yep.
Lovely play.
Lovely bloke.
Yeah, he is a good lad. Loves a glass of red wine. Loves a glass of red wine, Shanks.
Who doesn't? Hit us with this. Leinster Benetton, 61-17.
I might as well just wrap up the show here, because this was
shambles.
This was really embarrassing from Benetton. I know some of the players were really good, like Jordan Larmour. I was going to say Gary Ringwood was there. Jordan Larmour was exceptional. I know he's picked up a bit of an injury. He's going to be out for a few weeks. But like the Mull defence of Benetton was like something you'd watch down at a local club game, 10 minutes down the road. It was pub team stuff. It really was. And if Marco Bortolami, I know we've had him on here and he's a really good bloke, and he's talking about the aspirations that Benetton have going forward, but they got to defend better. Sean Cronin and Tracy scored 2 tries each, 4 tries coming from all. Ross Byrne was brilliant at 10. His brother Harry Byrne at 12 seemed to be liking that second playmaker a little bit more, Leinster at the minute. And like Leinster played pretty well, but they didn't absolutely light it up. A couple of good counter-attacking tries, but plenty more left in the tank for Leinster, and just really disappointing to see a Benetton team, been taken apart like that, especially at home.
Yeah. I just think you look at, I don't know what you boys say. I always found defense is the easier part of the game to do, and it's more about
the skill, isn't it?
Yes, it's not. It's an attitude. It's a team culture thing. You're speaking about the teams that got their pants pulled down at the weekend, and they're all massive scores, and the Towers got through, and it's more. It wasn't so much technical talent. It was just a lack of effort, and maybe there was a bit of lack of technical stuff. You look at some of it. It's like schoolboy style defense at times.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to rant of the week, lads. I had one, but the producer of the show, Gavin, has told me that he doesn't want to do it, so we got to move on to presenter's choice. let's see what we have.
Surprise for everyone.
Who would you play in a movie? Most famous person in your contacts? Best Six Nations night out. Yeah, let's make it short and snappy, lads. Most famous person in your contacts?
Oh, somebody wouldn't say that.
Yeah, nobody.
Um,
Humble salt of the earth over here. Don't know anyone.
does like Instagram count as contacts?
No.
Yeah, come on. Most famous person that follows you on Instagram, then. It's not bad.
Tom Davis. He's a comedian. He was in Murder and Successful, and he's been in The Curse, a new drama out. That's it. I'm humble, mate. I'm humble. I got enough mates.
I want real mates. I don't want hangers on like that. Most famous person in my phone that follows me, Gordon Ramsay, bizarrely.
Oh.
But then I messaged him asking
no reply. Is that after your like your flatbreads you did?
Called bagels, you idiot.
No, the flatbreads you did with flat.
Oh, right, sorry, maybe, probably not that one either. Gordon Ramsay, Ali McCoy's someone. I think he's quite famous north of the border, but
yeah, he follows me too.
No, it's not about you. Your turn's coming. No, Stevie, you.
Rory McIlroy.
That doesn't count.
Ulster.
Yeah, doesn't count.
Matthew Rees. He's an actor. He was in The Americans and loads of other stuff. A series. Yeah. Sorry, they're all coming back to me now.
Well, anyway,
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones. Genuinely?
I'm lying, mate.
You're just talking rubbish, aren't you?
Yeah. I'd rather the movie one. I'd really like to play Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, because that's one of my favourite movies.
That wasn't the question.
Shanks, you're not the full bag of sweets, are you? Well,
who would play you? Not movie. Would you play in a movie?
Misread it. All right.
Lads, what about the games coming up this weekend? Games coming up this weekend in the URC. Looking forward to seeing the South African teams back in action.
Yeah.
Scott Williams or Scarlets, but they're having a hell of a time over there, considering how bad a time they had over there. They've really pulled out all the stops to make up for the last trip. So Scarlets and Sharks. Scarlets. There's some tight ones here, actually. The big ones, Leinster, Ulster. You'd have to say.
You want to see how strong. You want to see how strong the South African teams are at home. That's the big thing. Like how much home advantage.
Munster boys up in altitude at the Bulls, breathing through a good packet, like trying to catch their lungs. No chance. Absolutely no chance. It'd be boiling. There'd be no air. No chance.
Do you reckon they've done the old altitude training, like with the masks on bikes and stuff, to prepare themselves?
Sure, Munster did all that before going away the last time, and then they went over there and they were stuck in their hotel room for 2 weeks. So
what do you reckon they're thinking? Going over there, they're thinking, "Oh, please don't happen again. Please." Don't. Do you reckon they've taken provisions?
Catch COVID before they go. I reckon.
Have they taken provisions this time?
Sweets.
Yeah, a little like safety pack, emergency pack.
It'll be good. I'm looking forward to the Bulls versus Munster. I think that's going to be a really good game. Big, strong Bulls pack. Munster obviously got it really easy in their last game there, so we'll see what the likes of Craig Casey, O'Donoghue, Chris Farrell, see if they can step up against the better opposition. So, well, it's going to be good. And obviously, Six Nations, lads, give me your predictions just for getting into the round 4 of this year's Six Nations Championship.
Friday night,
France are gonna win that.
What were we going to say there?
You're going to say hammer, weren't you, or something like that?
Yeah.
Annihilate Wales.
Shaft, no, no, absolutely Roger, no. France will win that comfortably. I'd say Scotland should be Italy, and then where's Ireland? England's in
Twickenham.
Twickenham. I don't even know why I asked. It doesn't matter. Ireland win that one.
Oh, I reckon England.
Ooh.
Yeah, I reckon England. I reckon France. And
why do you reckon England, Shanks?
I think home advantage. I think the pressure of the game. I think home advantage. I think Ireland are playing good rugby at the moment. But I just think something about going to Twickenham. I think they just have the edge. I've not seen the best of England yet.
No, we definitely have. Well, England have won 4 of the last 5 against Ireland. So, last time Ireland won there was 2018. I'm going to go for Ireland. Obviously, go for Scotland, and I think France are going to do the business. So, lads, thanks very much for your time. We'll let you go. Enjoy the rugby over the weekend across the URC and, of course, the Six Nations. You can catch every minute of every game live on Premier Sports. And check out premiersports.com for any more information. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, is it?
Hope so. Yeah. Can't wait.
Cheers, boys.